Mark Levin here. After any presidential election, I take time to reevaluate my own financial investments. That's why I continue to invest in gold for help with my financial protection. When it comes to gold, I only trust Advantage Gold. They're a top gold company in America, and that's who I turn to for my own gold purchases. Call them now at 800-900-8000. That's 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit. And see if you qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. And tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. I posted something several hours ago, actually early this morning. It was picked up by our friends at the Daily Signal. No, Republicans, the sky won't fall if there's a government shutdown. Hey, Republicans, the sky will not fall if there's a government shutdown. The government was shut down 6 times during Ronald Reagan's presidency, over 20 times since 1974. Yet recent presidents have avoided it like the plague. The nation survived. Reagan won massive landslides, and in the end, the public didn't give a damn despite all the media Democrat Party hype at the time. The bureaucrats wound up getting their money. Social Security checks and Medicare checks continued without a hitch. So did veterans' benefits. The active military was unaffected. That is, truly essential government services were funded because they are specifically excluded from government shutdowns. Indeed, taxes keep rolling into the government's treasury. They don't stop. That never shuts down. There's plenty of revenue for basic government operations. But a shutdown does draw a line on what we call, or they call, discretionary spending. The government itself calls it non-essential spending, much of which, but not all, funds ideologically driven projects. And yes, it can cause temporary inconveniences for those visiting, let's say, national parks and so forth. Seems like a small sacrifice. In fact, it's a very, very small sacrifice. Many years ago on this radio show, budget guru and now Trump-hating never-Trumper Paul Ryan told me that the government never really shuts down. Indeed, he said when there's a so-called government shutdown, about 17% of the government actually shuts down. Remember that, Mr. Producer? And when you think of it, since the biggest entitlements are unaffected and they make up the overwhelming majority of government spending, well, that makes sense then, doesn't it? And by the way, no one, and I mean no one, will discuss reforming any of the big entitlement programs, not even the self-anointed fiscal conservatives. We're talking about a pittance in relative terms now. Nonetheless, the Republicans need to take a stand somewhere. At least it'll be a beginning. They should explain to the people that the Democrats and too many of their fellow Republicans spend, borrow, and steal like pirates, which will bankrupt the country for their children and grandchildren, further drive up inflation, including the cost of food, clothing, and energy, destroy the value of their paychecks and pension checks, eventually collapse the government altogether, and that this drug-like spending addiction must be broken before it's too late, which it already may be. The Republicans shouldn't act defensively or out of fear, but boldly and proudly. They should speak up and speak to the people. In a way, this is like the abortion issue. What, you ask? The Democrats and their D.C.-based media lied about abortion and exploited it and fear-mongered it in the last election in the belief they would ride it to victory. Their propaganda became more extreme and insane the closer to the election. They truly believed that they had an issue that would drive them to victory. It was pounded and pounded and pushed, but the people didn't buy it. Even more, there were much bigger issues about which the public cared. Well, the Democrats and their media lost in a landslide, didn't they? And it turned out that the tactics were of no consequence. The economy was the number one issue. Do the right thing, Republicans. It also happens to be good politics. You might actually get used to it and stop destroying each other. Just get your collective act together and fight. This continuing resolution is just a baby step. Now, I want to say this to our friends who are making these decisions, taking a lot of shots at each other this afternoon. Settle down, everyone. About an hour ago, President Trump endorsed a new Republican plan and praised Speaker Johnson. Praised him. Excellent. Excellent. And I want to add that Chip Roy is a good and patriotic man. If they try and primary him, I will continue to support Chip Roy, as I support Speaker Johnson, as I support President Trump. We can work these things out if we stay focused on achieving our goals and principles. And the real enemy, that's the Marxist Democrats. They must be crushed. And the only way they're crushed is if we are united and stay united. And stick with our principles. Doesn't mean we'll get everything we want, even within the Republican Party, but we need to get a lot of it. So I support President Trump and his position. I support the Speaker and what he's tried to do now. And I support Chip Roy. And I will defend all three of them. Not because I'm a Pollyanna, because I want to win. And I want us to remember who the enemy is. And they are the enemy. We just won an election. We the people. We the people elected Donald Trump. We the people elected the Speaker of the House in his district. We the people elected Chip Roy. We're not here to pick one off after the other. That's how you lose wars, political and otherwise. So we'll see how this plays out further. We'll see how it goes. And of course, the Democrats want to sabotage whatever's done. So beware of that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there have been two pieces written, one by the New York Times and today by the Wall Street Journal, and I'm talking about the news sections, on how Joe Biden had dementia, how Joe Biden could never have finished a second term, New York Times says, how Joe Biden's staff and others covered up for him. Isn't it sickening that they write these things now after this last election? Isn't it sickening that they didn't write it a year ago? Isn't it sickening that I came behind this microphone and on TV and on Blaze over and over again over the course of years, that I laid it out that he's at stage 5 out of stage 7 of dementia, and you didn't even need me to lay it out. You could see it yourself, the roaming around, the videos, the staring into Never Never Land, the gibberish and all the rest. We all know it. And those of us who have family members with Alzheimer's or dementia, we see it and we saw it. In the Wall Street Journal, how the White House functioned with a diminished Biden in charge. This needs to be underscored. Not just mentioned and then we run on to the drones or something. No. This is the most evil, diabolical offense committed against the American people by any political party, by any group of people. And as I told you many months ago, maybe years ago, historians will look back on this and condemn us. During the 2020 presidential primary, they write, Joe Biden campaigned so extensively across Iowa that she held events in more counties than her husband, a fact her press secretary at the time, Michael LaRosa, touted to a local reporter. His superior in the Biden campaign quickly chided him as the three rode in a minivan through the state's cornfields. Anthony Bernal, then a deputy campaign manager and chief of staff to Joe Biden, pressed LaRosa to contact the reporter again and play down any comparison in the campaign appearances between Joe Biden, then 77, and his wife, 8 years his junior. Her energetic schedule only highlights her husband's more plodding pace, LaRosa recalls being told. The message from Biden's team was clear. The more you talk her up, the more you make him look bad. The small correction foreshadowed how Biden's closest aides and advisors would manage the limitations of the oldest president in U.S. history during his 4 years in office. To adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader. Now look how this is now written about in a blasé way. A diminished leader, meaning mentally diminished. Dementia. In his first 4 years. And my God, they went ahead and they nominated him again until they pulled the rug out from under him. Kamala Harris, as I've said again and again, she lied to us. The cabinet lied to us. Pelosi lied. Schumer lied. Everybody who met with her, everybody who worked with her, they lied over and over and over again to us. The media lied to us. The media knew what was going on, but they lied to us. To adapt the White House around the needs of a diminished leader, they told visitors to keep meetings focused. Interactions with senior Democratic lawmakers and some cabinet members, including powerful secretaries such as Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, were infrequent or grew less frequent. Some legislative leaders had a hard time getting the president's ear at key moments, including ahead of the U.S. disastrous pullout from Afghanistan. This cost us lives. It cost us lives. And Milley knew it, and the other top brass at the Pentagon knew it, but they didn't say anything. They didn't do anything. Senior advisors were often put into roles that some administration officials and lawmakers thought Biden should occupy, with people such as National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Senior Counsel Steve Ricchetti, National Economic Council head Lyle Brownard, and her predecessor frequently in the position of being go-betweens for the president. They all covered up for him, and they still do. Press aides who compiled packages of news clips for Biden were told by senior staff to exclude negative stories about the president. President wasn't talking to his own pollsters as surveys showed him trailing in the 2024 race. Look at this. Look at this. Presidents always have gatekeepers, but in Biden's case, the walls around him were higher and the controls greater, according to Democratic lawmakers, donors, and aides who work for Biden and other administrations. There were limits over who Biden spoke with, limits on what they said to him, limits around the sources of information he consumed. It's the President of the United States, America. And throughout his presidency, a small group of aides stuck close to Biden to assist him, especially when traveling or speaking to the public. They body him to such a high degree. A person witnessed it said, adding that the hand-holding is unlike anything other recent presidents have had. This would be Kirby. Kirby. And the idiot. The White House operated this way even as the president and his aides pressed forward with his re-election bid, which unraveled spectacularly after his halting performance in a June debate with Donald Trump made his mental acuity an insurmountable issue. Vice President Kamala Harris replaced him, we know this, was decisively defeated by Trump in a shortened campaign. The account of how the White House functioned with an aging leader at the top of its organizational chart is based on interviews with nearly 50 people, including those who participated in or had direct knowledge of the operations. Many of those who criticized Biden's insularity said his system nonetheless kept this agenda on track, meaning this staff ran the country. As they do right now. White House spokesman Andrew Bates, this guy's a complete lowlife, Said Biden earned the most accomplished record of any modern commander-in-chief and rebuilt the middle class because of his attention to policy details that impact millions of lives. Rebuilt the middle class? I think Bates has dementia. Bates, who rejected the notion that Biden has declined, added the president has often solicited opinions from outside experts, which has informed his policymaking. So you still have this guy Bates who's lying through his teeth. Said it's the job of senior White House staff to have high-level meetings regularly, and they were executing Biden's agenda in his direction. The guy's still full of crap. He also said the staff alerted the president to significant negative news. Burn all via the good days and bad days. The president's slide has been hard to overlook. While preparing last year for his interview with Robert Hur, the special counsel, the president couldn't recall lines that his team discussed with him at events. Aides often repeated instructions to him, such where to enter or exit a stage that would be obvious to the average person. Biden's team tapped campaign co-chairman Jeffrey Katzenberg, a Hollywood mogul, to find a voice coach to improve the president's fading warble. The system put Biden at an unusual remove from cabinet secretaries, the chairs of congressional committees, and other high-ranking officials. You know, the article goes on and on. And can you imagine what foreign leaders thought, especially our enemies? They knew what they were dealing with. The Democrat Party, the staffers, the cabinet, leading Democrats in Congress, the Washington, New York media, they lied to us, and they didn't care what peril they put the country in. They backed him up for re-election until it became obvious to every single soul in the world that he had dementia. These people, they betrayed us. They betrayed us. More when I return.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you could even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. Media try to cover their butts. The media cannot cover their butts. They installed Biden. They protected Biden. They attacked anybody who challenged Biden. They're on a jihad against Trump, against congressional Republicans. We knew it. They knew it. But they lied. They always lie. Look at Stephanopoulos. Serial liar. Look at all of them, serial liars. But the New York Times, interestingly enough, about 36 hours before, came out with its own piece. New York Times admits Biden was never qualified for a second term after downplaying concerns for years. Sound familiar? Let's dig into this one. And there's lots more. I'll be right back. The markets are volatile. They're shooting up wildly only to drop without warning. The Fed just cut rates yet again, this time by a quarter point. Why? Because the Federal Reserve is not confident the economy is strong. In fact, last month only 12,000 jobs were created, all of them in the government. That's why I'm telling you again, diversification is crucially important. And diversification with gold is what I do. And the company I use, and I've used many, the best one is Advantage Gold. Call them now at 800-900-8000 for a free gold investment kit to see how gold gold can help you diversify your investments and take advantage now. Now, gold has been helping to protect and grow wealth for people for thousands of years. And in these times, it can be more crucial than ever. When it comes to gold, I trust Advantage Gold. They're one of the top gold companies in America. They're who I turn to when I purchase gold. Call them now, 800-900-8000. Call 800-900-8000 now for a free gold investment kit to see how gold can help you with your investment portfolio, a.k.a. your bank accounts, your paycheck. And when you do, you could qualify for $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Folks, don't wait. Call them now, 800-900-8000, and tell them Mark Levin sent you. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional.
The voice of sanity in an insane world. The Mark Levin Show. Call him now at 877-381-3811.
And now we have the New York Slimes via a Federalist analysis by Brianna Lyman. After months downplaying concerns about Biden's cognitive abilities, a new report by the New York Times finally admitted what many Americans had known for years. Biden was never truly qualified to serve a second term. I would add a first term. On Tuesday, a report by the Times says Peter Baker and Zolan Kanu-Youngs fawned over Biden's recent trip to Africa. They noted, however, that after a grueling day that included touring a factory, Biden put his head in his hand and briefly closed his eyes as the speeches droned on. Likely wasn't the speech's fault for droning that put Biden to sleep while world leaders looked on. It was because Biden was once again exhibiting signs of physical and cognitive decline that the Times has continually tried to downplay. But this time, the Times couldn't ignore the facts any longer. It admitted it would be hard to imagine, I quote, that Biden seriously thought he could do the world's most stressful job for another 4 years. Don't you despise these people? Have nothing but contempt for their unconscionable and immoral conduct? The report goes on to list several examples of Biden's declining cognitive and physical health, including his frequent mumbling and the need for other leaders to physically help him up, hold him up. But that wasn't the true tune sung by the Times over the past few months and years. The same paper once went to great lengths to dismiss these signs and even enlisted the help of so-called experts to help downplay concerns about Biden's cognitive decline and physical impairments. Recall back in June when Biden needed to be escorted off the stage by former President Barack Obama after freezing on stage at a massive fundraiser. The Times didn't bother addressing the incident directly, despite its dominating the news. Instead, the Times ran a piece alleging Republicans were sharing misleading videos of Biden that were twisted and manipulated. Remember all that crap coming from the podium, coming from the media? In the last 2 weeks, they wrote, the Republicans have circulated videos of Mr. Biden that lacked important context from the Times and twisted mundane moments to paint him in an unflattering light. The article conveniently didn't mention the fundraiser video despite it generating the news cycle. They also trotted out so-called experts who claim most of the videos are cheap fakes. Remember that? Cheap fakes. Or manipulated videos meant to play into the concerns of Americans over Biden's age. Ageism, I think they called it. Just months prior, Biden showed up late to his own State of the Union speech, but the New York Times A.O. Scott brushed it off as a quirky part of Biden's style. Yeah, like walking into walls. And as for the report released by special counsel Robert Hur, remember the attacks that man came under? Who declined to charge Biden for taking classified documents, saying a jury would perceive the president as, quote, an elderly man with a poor memory. The New York Times enlisted experts again to argue that Biden's memory lapses were nothing more than normal forgetfulness for someone his age. Now remember, this is the same news organization that covered up the Holocaust. So, of course, covering up Biden's dementia, that's nothing to these people. Dr. Sharon Nagarath, a professor of psychology and neuroscience at the University of California, dismissed the concerns raised by Hur's report about Biden's cognitive abilities. He had to pull his ticket, but that'll never happen. As an expert on memory, I can assure you that everyone forgets, Ranganath wrote for the Times, arguing Biden's memory lapses were normal for someone his age, rather than the sign of someone suffering from some type of an impairment. Meanwhile, the New York Times' Gina Collado used the phrase Republicans were quick to pounce before also trying to dismiss concerns about the report, writing, and I quote, medical experts on Friday noted that the report's judgments were not based on science and that its methods bore no resemblance to those that doctors use to assess possible cognitive impairment, unquote. The Times has carried water for Biden well before the Her report. 2022 article by Cheryl Gay Stolberg for Biden's 80th birthday cited experts, more experts, who said Biden has a lot going in his favor and are all conducive to healthy aging. Notably, this report was released a few weeks after Biden called out into the audience for the late Congresswoman Jackie Walorski, who tragically died in an August car crash. But the Times found an expert, another expert, to help downplay the incident, with Professor Emeritus and psychiatric epidemiologist at Duke University School of Medicine, Dr. Dan Blazer. With a title like that, he's got to be an expert, saying that slippage of memory is something that is usual, but it's not a real deficit. His ticket should be pulled, too. All of these reports serve the same purpose, to downplay Biden's evident decline and brush off concerns about his fitness to lead. But now the election's over, and the New York Times no longer has to cover for a failing president. Now they try to cover their ass, just like the Wall Street Journal and the rest of the media. Oh, we all knew, you know. We all knew. Kamala Harris. She knew, and she covered it up, and she lied to the American people, and then she wanted you to vote for her for president. Every damn cabinet secretary knows. Amendment 25 is there for a reason. It's there to remove somebody who is impaired physically or mentally. Not a single cabinet secretary, clearly not the vice president, to the best of our knowledge, even discussed it. Or if they did, we don't know about it. More than anybody else, Dr. Jill Biden knew that her husband had dementia. She knew her husband wasn't capable of serving. She lives with him 24/7. She sleeps with him. She eats with him. She knows. She knows whether he can go to the bathroom with or without help. She knows if she has to help feed him. I'm not kidding. Help dress him. She knows. She knows it all. And she knows what medicines he's taking. I assure you he's taking medicines to help him cope with dementia. But it was all covered up. Not well, but nonetheless covered up. And if you drew attention to it, it was so obvious that Helen Keller could see it and hear it. So obvious. And if you drew attention to it, there was something wrong with you. And the paid grifters, the phony staffers, the lightweight cabinet secretaries, the Pravda media, all the rest of them, a conga line of fakes, frauds, and phonies. Reprobates all. There they were to tell you that you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're just a partisan Republican. That's it. There's something wrong with you. And now the media are doing this to cover their tracks, because they know history will judge them. And that's why they're doing what they're doing now. It doesn't even matter now. Guy's president for another 5 or 6 weeks. It's frightening. But there's literally no way to remove him, short of the 25th Amendment and short of impeachment and removal. But the Democrats aren't going to do it. The cabinet's still not going to do it. We all know that this guy's a zombie walking. We all know it. We all know it when we're talking about sighting drones. We also mean, look at that. There's Joe Biden and the White House Rose Garden. We all know it. Blinken knows it. Sullivan knows it. Austin knows it. Garland knows it. And yet still, right now, they're there shoving documents under his nose. Preemptive pardons. Preemptive pardons. Has he pardoned a 3-time murderer? He pardoned the worst embezzlers imaginable. He pardoned a couple of flunky, outrageous judges who threw juveniles in prison in juvie court. They were the juvie court judges, giving them 8 months, 9 months for illegal drinking at a party. One of them committed suicide. These are the people that this fool gives pardons, or clemency in their case. Clemency? Gives them clemency? Meanwhile, the January 6ers, I don't know that any of them killed 3 people. The answer is none of them did. Or treated children the way these 2 judges did. Or stole tens of millions of dollars from private citizens in a small town. He also gave pardons to 3 communist Chinese spies. But they throw the book at the January 6ers, and I'm not talking about those who attacked cops. I'm talking about those who were on the lawn, those who went into the building. Those are misdemeanors. Misdemeanors that they tried and did in many cases turned into felonies. They threw the book at these people, which is why they should be pardoned. Again, the nonviolent January 6ers, they should be pardoned. They threw the book at these people. And by the way, if you said, I am not pleading, I didn't commit an act that's worthy of prison time, in virtually every one of those cases, the misdemeanor charges were changed to felony charges. They threw the book at them. Remember the Supreme Court said that end-run obstruction statute you're using against Donald Trump with these January 6ers, it's unconstitutional. Do you know how many cases they've dropped based on that? None. Not one. When they drop that charge, they replace it with another charge. Yes, that's right. Equal justice under the law, don't you know? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Did you see what the Federal Reserve did literally days after President Trump's victory? It's lowered interest rates by a quarter. Do you know why it did that? It's worried about the economy. It's worried about the fact that jobs aren't being created. We're seeing all kinds of shifts in our portfolios, and it's important to stay aware. That's why I'm urging everyone to diversify and consider gold as one of your financial shields. Now, gold has weathered every kind of economic downturn throughout history. I want you to call Advantage Gold. They're the best of the best, folks. I've dealt with all of them. They're the best. They're my gold company. 1-800-900-8000. Get a free gold investment kit to see how you can get started with gold. I recommend Advantage Gold to anyone who's serious about protecting their wealth, and that's you. Call 800-900-8000 for your free gold investment kit, and you can even qualify for up to $1,000 in free silver. That's 800-900-8000. Call them now. Tell them Mark Levin sent you. You'll be very happy with them. Performance may vary. You should always consult your financial and tax professional. You know, ladies and gentlemen, obviously today is Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. I will be gone next week, won't I, Mr. Producer? As will you. How about the following week? The whole week? Really? I'm like shocked. Because the only time I take a lot of time off is never. And the only time I took off more time than I normally would this year was when I had that fall and that terrible accident and the surgery and the recovery. Otherwise, I just don't do it. And so this is the next to the last evening that we have together. And I just want you to know, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow, that you're in my heart, soul, and mind all the time. My audience. And I spend an enormous amount of time, not so you can pat me on the back of the head, trying to make sure this show is important enough for you to stop what you're doing and listen to it. I well understand that this is probably the worst time slot for primetime radio. That you're busy, that there's sporting events, that the kids are doing stuff, that you're eating dinner. I get it. A lot of corporations that own radio stations, they don't get anything, including that. And so it's the toughest real estate, we call it, in the talk radio business. But we have a massive show with a massive audience, you, the most loyal audience of any audience. If I'm not on a given night, you move over to the podcast, you move over to satellite, or maybe you always listen to satellite. Or you go to YouTube, or you go to the live streaming, you use an app. Our numbers are all muscling up. They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's something that much of the media, the comments on the media, will never understand because they don't want to understand. They just don't want to, and it doesn't matter. You see, nothing, no one can ever come between you and me. It just doesn't matter. The bureaucracy, whether it's a radio platform, whether it's a podcast platform, whatever it is, they can't control the content. They can't control the relationship. When I started out in radio, it was Rush Limbaugh who told me, your audience is your family. Treat the audience with respect. Because one day when you come under attack, or one day when some owner, some program director, some general manager decides, you know what, forget it, we can live without that show. When that day happens, your audience will follow you. They will support you. The bureaucracy won't matter. The platform won't matter. And all the times they came after my dear friend Rush and his listeners, which are mostly you folks, came to his defense. They would not be deterred. That's the kind of relationship we have over these years. I know that to be true. And I'm grateful for it. I'm blessed by it. I truly am. Those of you who come up to me, you happen to see me limping these days here and there because I'm trying to get out, trying to walk, trying not to use a cane because I don't want to. I don't want to look old. I don't want to be old. I know I'm getting older, but I want to walk again. You're so kind. You're so nice. Oh, no, the haters out there, they give you the look, but they're too much. They're too cowardly to come up to me. I'm a lot bigger than they realize, Mr. Producer. But I know you're there. Think about you a lot. I appreciate you all the time. And I want to thank you. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow because this is the season. Hanukkah, Christmas. This is the time of year. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. The media and the Democrats and the media, the Marxists, the Islamists, the Pravda and Al Jazeera media, they're at it again. They're at it again. They're trying to create a wedge between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I predict it'll be a complete failure because they're so predictable. They're so Mickey Mouse, moronic. Welcome to the Elon Musk presidency because Elon Musk dared to put up a number of tweets on X condemning the deal that had been arranged, the original deal. Donald Trump would come out and he rejected it completely. And so what the media is saying is, who's the president now? Who's the president? We can't have this billionaire as president. Who's the president? Then we have the idiot Rand Paul. Yeah, he's an idiot. I don't even believe he endorsed Donald Trump, to be honest with you. I don't believe he did. I could be wrong. He's welcome to contact us, Rand. He says we ought to have Elon Musk as speaker. Isn't he a senator, Mr. Producer? Okay, just want to make sure. Doesn't he have a few things to do over in the Senate side? Is he an effective senator? I don't know. Does he ever win any votes? Does he ever organize opposition in an effective way? I haven't heard about anything. I'm just saying. Yak, 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 yak. Robert Garcia, who is he? Nobody knows. Democrat, California. He's on MSLSD today. Let's get a taste of this. Cut 2, go.
Well, first, welcome to the Elon Musk presidency, one where Donald Trump has been relegated to be the vice president. Clearly what Elon Musk wants.
Anyway, he goes on. See, the goal is to get under Trump's skin. So he and Elon Musk have a breakup of sorts in terms of their support one for the other. They think that Donald Trump won't understand. Because Donald Trump has to be the man. Well, Donald Trump is the man. He was the one elected president. He calls the shots. But Elon Musk is free to give his comments, too. But you see, the Democrats want you to believe that Elon Musk is calling the shots. Now, they know he's not, but it doesn't matter. Then we have Dan Goldman, perhaps the new dumbest person to ever serve in the House of Representatives. A man who was an assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of New York, which suggests to me that their standards have been lowered significantly by IQ. So he's asked by the Constipated News Network's Sciutto, Sciutto. This is a so-called journalist on the so-called CNN who used to work for Obama. Of course. Cut 3, go.
I think it's fair to call this an 11th hour monkey wrench in the works, 2 days from shutdown. What's the calculation here by Trump and Musk?
I don't really think there is a calculation. Honestly, I think they've been clearly, as Donald Trump has been asleep at the wheel. This is being negotiated intensively for weeks now. I find it hard to believe that Trump was not clued into what was going on, but probably more likely.
So he goes on later. I can't stand this guy. So he goes on later to suggest that Elon Musk called the shots. And now Trump and Musk scuttled it. I don't know. I don't remember this being public. Do you, Mr. Producer? I certainly don't. It's been going on for weeks. Now we have Eric Swalwell, always a favorite at MSLSD, like every other individual who has slept with communist spies. Oh, yes, over there at MSLSD, you're a hero. Frequent guest. Just like at the Constipated News Network, Dan Goldman. Dumb as a doorknob, a constant guest. Cut 4, go.
Who's the speaker? Is it Elon Musk or is it Mike Johnson?
Now that's Joy Reid, America's bigot. Joy Reid, America's bigot. She contributes nothing useful, helpful, positive to society. Just a bald face and bald-headed sometimes, I think. I don't know what that's all about. But a bigot nonetheless. And she has her buddy Swalwell on. Is Elon Musk or is Mike Johnson speaker? Wow, Joy. So profound, so perceptive. What does Swalwell say? Go.
Okay.
Right now. He
is
invested.
he co-president
Speaker Musk right now, he says. Speaker Musk. So these are two idiots talking to each other. They think we're stupid, making lame brain comments. So Elon Musk is the speaker? Speaker. Rand Paul wants him to be the speaker, and he's the president. And the president is the vice president. So that's what we're getting right now out of MSLSD and the Constipated News Network. Wow. Wow. Well, how stupid are they? Now we have Whoopi Goldberg, a.k.a. Karen. Karen Goldberg. Whoopi's a real Karen. You know how they use the word Karen as a pejorative about sort of white suburban women? Oh, she's a Karen. Well, Whoopi's real name is Karen. Whoopi! She's a whoopee cushion. Cut 6, go.
Who is in charge? Because I've been saying it for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been
you have.
saying that I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember the last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when they get rid of Trump.
So you think it's Musk?
Do these women, can we call them women or should we call them by their pronouns? Do these its, I like its. Shh, it's, Mr. Producer. Shh, don't say it. Shh, it's. Do they like have happy hour before they tape their show? Or are they just naturally stupid? And they work up each other, you know, so stupid like stupid. I don't know, he's president, he's vice president. Where's J.D. Vance? What, are you blind, deaf and dumb? J.D. Vance is everywhere. Good man, by the way. Good man. What is this, J.D. Vance? So this is the propaganda of the day, okay? Doesn't matter. All the left-wing media, which means all the media but a few safe havens, all the phony news shows, because as we know, The View is viewed as a news show by ABC News, and ABC News is viewed as a news network, and that's pretty funny. Incidentally, did you know that George Stephanopoulos was told repeatedly by a producer to stop accusing Trump of rape or being convicted of rape, but he did it anyway? And now apparently he's furious. So you know what Disney did? They just re-upped him. Standards. What standards do they have at Disney? It's all Mickey Mouse, but you know what? We like Mickey Mouse. They don't rise to a Mickey Mouse standard. And so this is the propaganda of the day, again, to try and create friction between Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. Everybody knows who's in charge. Donald Trump doesn't take a second seat to anybody, nor should he. He won in a landslide. Elon Musk is very supportive of Donald Trump. He also has his own opinions because he's actually created things, built things. He's a multi-billionaire, unlike everybody on The View. They've built nothing. They've created nothing except a lot of methane. That's it. So now they hate Musk. They used to love Musk when he was a liberal Democrat, when he backed Obama. Oh, Musk, that's a great guy. They used to love Robert F. Kennedy Jr., didn't mind his views on vaccines and milk and water and all the rest of it. Now he's a kook. They used to love Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, this is a party where their man, David Banya, remember him? Traveled to Iraq, met with Hussein's mouthpiece. Oh, yeah, they were all over the enemy territory. Now, of course, it's Tulsi Gabbard. She's the enemy. They love Ted Kennedy, who conspired with the communists in the old Soviet Union to prevent Reagan's re-election. Remember all that? The Lion of the Senate. Camelot. But not Gabbard. They can't. You know, that's a bridge too far. It's a Chappaquiddick Bridge. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, they say free, but what they really mean is see the fine print. There's no shortage of ads from the big wireless carriers offering the latest iPhone for free. But look deeper. You'll realize to qualify, you need to trade in your phone valued at $1,000. You need to be on the $100 a month unlimited plan and pay the $35 activation fee. That's a lot of money for a free phone, don't you think? Well, don't fall for it. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14, which has all the bells and whistles you need, plus get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot, all for $50 a month. How about that? Half the price of the big guys, and you get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. Do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Plus, when you go to puretalk.com/LEVIN, you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. Looks like Fannie Willis got her fanny dismissed. Oh, yeah. From our friends at the New York Sun, one of the great newspapers, by the way. Fannie Willis is dismissed, but her case staggers on. Can her zombie prosecution of Trump survive? I don't think so. Special prosecutor will be appointed to replace the district attorney and decide what to do with her indictment. A.R. Hoffman. The disqualification of the DA of Fulton County, Willis and her Fannie, from a racketeering case against President Trump and 18 others, throws into high relief the prosecution's uncertain future as the case staggers on without her. A zombie indictment in search of a prosecutor. A panel of Georgia Court of Appeals found by a 2-to-1 margin that the trial judge, Scott McAfee, erred by failing to disqualify Willis and her office on account of her romantic affair with her hand-picked special prosecutor, Nathan Wade. Remember that guy? He went to the White House twice and he couldn't remember anything. I don't know what we discussed. Yeah, right, okay. The appellate judges found the relationship compromised her direction about who to prosecute and what charges to bring. That ruling not only dismisses Ms. Willis from the case, it also disqualifies her entire office, whose authority to prosecute is downstream from hers. The review court, though, declined to pursue what it describes as a more extreme remedy, the dismissal of the indictment, and that's exactly what they should have done. The charges still stand, even though she does not, pending her possible appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court. For the 4 billionth time, will somebody, please, explain why the president's lawyers need to go to the U.S. Supreme Court and get this stuff taken care of? I see Mike Lee has finally chimed in. Somebody sent me a post he made. I don't follow all these guys and all their posts. People send them to me. He said, hey, I have an idea, an emergency writ of mandamus. Mr. Producer, how long have I been talking about a writ of mandamus? Months? But better late than never. Where's Rand Paul on this? Who knows? Anyway, if Georgia's High Court upholds Miss Willis's disqualification, state law mandates when a DA's office is disqualified from interest or relationship to engage in a prosecution, I'm quoting, the DA shall notify the executive director of the prosecuting attorney's counsel of the state of Georgia of the disqualification. That position is now held by a veteran Georgia prosecutor, Pete Skandalakis, a Republican. He'll have 3 options to replace her. He can pick an attorney from the prosecuting attorney's counsel, appoint a competent attorney from outside the counsel to request the services of, and thereafter appoint a DA, a solicitor general, a retired prosecutor, blah, blah. And he told NBC News earlier this year, if Willis were to be disqualified, it'd be disingenuous to say politics isn't part of any process to find a replacement. He says, but I'm still looking for someone who could be neutral. What is it with these Republicans? Neutral. How about somebody who can be correct? Correct. Let's see. Her fate ultimately will have to be decided by the Georgia Supreme Court, where this will probably wind up. All 8 jurists who sit on that body were appointed by Republican governors, which you'd think is good, but sometimes it's not. You just never know with 100%. You never know with 100%. Tim will tell, a.k.a. Time will tell. Let's see here. Did more happen in this? Hold on one second, America. I am, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Here it is. Hold on now. Hold on now. Let's see here. Okay, let's move on. This is important. New York Post. 100 North Korean soldiers have been killed in Ukraine, as video shows Russians appearing to burn their faces to hide their IDs. Seems a little extreme. At least 100 North Korean soldiers have been killed fighting in Ukraine. The video appears to show Russian allies burning the dead's faces in fires to hide their identity. Another 1,000 North Koreans have been wounded, but dictator Kim Jong-un could be gearing up to send additional troops to the battlefield. Yeah, what does he care? Less mouths to feed. The heavy losses, which may include North Korean generals, were reported by South Korea's National Intelligence Service to the nation's lawmakers behind closed doors on Thursday, reports the Telegraph. The North Korean troops have become burdens to their Russian allies because they know nothing about drones, South Korean politician Lee Sung-won told reporters after the intelligence briefing. And as reports emerged of significant North Korean losses, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky published videos this week showing soldiers from the Hermit Kingdom fighting and dying in Kursk. Another clip showed Russian troops attempting to hide the identity of them by burning their faces in a campfire. Russia's not only involving North Korean soldiers in assaults against Ukrainian positions, but also trying to hide the losses of these people, Zelensky said. The Russians are also trying to literally burn their faces off of the killed North Korean soldiers. North Korean troops accidentally killed 8 Russian paramilitaries. Here's the problem. These North Koreans, to the extent they've been trained in tactics that were mostly used in World War II, or in their case, the Korean War, with obsolete weapons. They say they look in the skies, drones. They've never seen drones before. They don't know how to deal with modern technology, either to use it or to defend against it. So this is their problem. Hermit Kingdom leader Kim Jong-un is reportedly planning an inspection of his country's special operations forces, which could be dispatched to Ukraine if that is additional forces. An Ukrainian military intelligence agency also revealed today that North Korean troops have erected additional observation posts to detect drones of the security and defense forces of Ukraine. Agency said that Russia will continue sending North Korean troops to Kursk to not lose the pace of offensive actions. That's what's going on there. So they're getting their asses kicked. And by the way, the Ukrainians unveil a new Trident laser weapon. Now, this is technology, I believe, given to them, at least in part, by the British. This is a laser weapon that can take out aircraft over a mile away. I've been saying to friends and family, lasers are the next cutting-edge technology. You won't need missiles to take out missiles. You'll need lasers to take out missiles. And the Israelis are hot on that trail right now. They're focusing heavily on lasers, mobile lasers. You can use them on tanks or personnel carriers, or use them on jets and so forth. That would be a game changer. Hypersonic missiles. Guess what? Lasers are faster and more accurate than hypersonic missiles, which are very fast and very accurate. I'll be right back. You know, they say free, but what they really mean is see the fine print. There's no shortage of ads from the big wireless carriers offering the latest iPhone for free. But look deeper. You'll realize to qualify, you need to trade in your phone valued at $1,000. You need to be on the $100 a month unlimited plan and pay the $35 activation fee. That's a lot of money for a free phone, don't you think? Well, don't fall for it. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14, which has all the bells and whistles you need, plus get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot, all for $50 a month. How about that? Half the price of the big guys, and you get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. Do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Plus, when you go to puretalk.com/LEVIN, you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
This is the nation's town hall meeting, and you can join in at 877-381-3811.
Oh, my beautiful wife has entered the room.
Sorry.
How you doing, sweetheart?
Okay, thanks.
You doing okay? You very busy?
Yeah.
You're always busy.
Here, you want to put that?
Yes, indeed. There they go again. Politico, left-wing rag, website operation, and rare move. Republican senators call for Hegseth's FBI report. I told you we're not out of the woods with this yet. The Senate Armed Services Committee usually limits who can view these types of background checks. Lawmakers want to see this one. Writes Joe Gould. At least a dozen senators are pushing to see the FBI's background check on Pete Hegseth. A rare move for the committee that oversees his confirmation, and a sign the former Fox News host faces hurdles still in the Senate. And from Republicans. Unlike some other committees, the Senate Armed Services usually limits access to these types of background checks to its two lead senators, but pressure is building for both Democrats and Republicans to provide more lawmakers with the ongoing report, whose contents could determine whether Hegseth makes it in the Pentagon. This is Politico. Susan Collins. It would be helpful It would be helpful, given the allegations that have been lodged against Mr. Hegseth, to be able to see the FBI background check. She's a swing vote. She's a swinger. Yes. Senators have various motives for seeking the report. Some Republicans, such as Collins and North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis. Tom Tillis. Always unreliable, that Tom. They say the claims are serious enough to warrant greater access to the findings. Well, it's unlikely the FBI findings would be made public. They could still give Republican senators political cover to vote against Hegseth or support for his defense. I've encouraged all the nominees, number one, be out front on the FBI background check, and you want that information shared at least with committee members. No, you don't. You're all skunks. You're losers. You're untrustworthy. You're leakers. Among other reasons. The FBI's background investigation is expected to thoroughly examine Hegseth's personal and professional history, including interviews with associates, reviews of financial records, and queries into past legal issues. And we can all trust the FBI, can't we, America? Tommy Tillis there. He's a big truster of the FBI. Can I say truster? Sure. Trump's pick argues he's nothing to hide. Mr. Hegseth not only welcomes but looks forward to the FBI background check, said Hegseth advisor Arthur Schwartz. Hey, Arthur. The allegations of sexual... And then you go on about the allegations. Reid is facing pressure. The chair of the committee, Reid of Rhode Island, another left-wing kook, ranking member Mississippi Senator Roger Wicker, complete weakling. By arrangement with the White House, the two senators typically review FBI reports on nominees without staff present and consult with the administration if they want to release them more widely. But Reid's facing pressure from at least 8 Senate Armed Services Democrats. Richard Blumenthal, puke. Tim Kaine, puke. Tammy Duckworth, puke. Mark Kelly, puke. Elizabeth Warren, Marxist. Jeannie Shaheen, puke. Mazie Hirono, Marxist. Christine Gillibrand, fraud, phony. Dayan Senator Angus King, Maine Independent, a.k.a. left-wing Democrat, said they want the report released to all committee members, and then they're going to start leaking it. That's what they're going to do. Reid acknowledged the growing calls for transparency, but didn't say which way he's leaning. Everybody wants to look at it, he said. That's a decision that has to be made by myself, Senator Wicker, and the White House. Kaine said that if Reid and Wicker wanted to break with the norm, they would have to go back and renegotiate with the incoming Trump administration. Well, he's a stickler, that one. Blumenthal went further. He said he wants senators involved in all confirmation hearings to see the findings. The FBI report ought to be shared with the entire committee. Oh, great. So let's change the rules now when Trump's in power. Republicans, too, are weighing in. Senator Tommy Tuberville, Republican Alabama Trump ally, simply said, I'm going to see it. But some Senate Armed Services Republicans said they want to defer. I don't think we need to make any special exceptions on any of this, said Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Good guy, by the way. I don't know him, but I can see he's a good guy. If we didn't do it for the Biden administration, we shouldn't do it for the Trump administration. Amen. Well said. And he's right. He's 100% right. It's all a load of crap. They get access to it, they're going to leak it. And why should they change the rules? For Pete Hegseth. But not for the Biden people. Biden's administration was loaded with freaks, frauds, and phonies. Him being one of them, of course. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
You know, they say free, but what they really mean is see the fine print. There's no shortage of ads from the big wireless carriers offering the latest iPhone for free. But look deeper. You'll realize to qualify, you need to trade in your phone valued at $1,000. You need to be on the $100 a month unlimited plan and pay the $35 activation fee. That's a lot of money for a free phone, don't you think? Well, don't fall for it. Pure Talk, my cell phone company, has a better option. Get a brand new iPhone 14, which has all the bells and whistles you need, plus get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, and and mobile hotspot, all for $50 a month. How about that? Half the price of the big guys, and you get a new iPhone powered by America's most dependable 5G network. Do this. Go to puretalk.com/Levin today. Switching is easy. Plus, when you go to puretalk.com/Levin, you'll get an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company. Joe Biden, after a half a century in Washington, D.C., has a good idea, he says. I have a great idea. After half a century, 36 years in the Senate. Cut 9, go.
I don't know how you look your constituents in the eye and know because the job they gave you an inside track to make more money. I think we should be changing the law that we have to, but we abide by at the federal level, that nobody in the Congress should be able to make money in the stock market while they're in the Congress.
I think we should expand that, Mr. Producer, that nobody should be able to take money from the communist Chinese, the fascistic Russians, the corrupt Burisma Corporation in Ukraine. I think we should include that. Oh, they're already included. I'm sorry. Now, why is he doing this now, Mr. Producer? Do you know why? Nancy Pelosi. He's so pissed off at Nancy Pelosi for helping to lead a coup against him. Then complaining that Biden should have gotten out earlier. He's so furious with her for stabbing him in the back. You know, they're all a bunch of backstabbers. He knows that the Pelosi's have made tens of millions of dollars as a result of her position in Congress. 60 Minutes used to report on things like this. Remember that? Not anymore. Not anymore. But the Pelosi's made a fortune because of, in part, Nancy Pelosi's position in Congress, determining whether legislation would come up, what legislation would come up, knowing in advance. Hubby managed to make money. Notice he's never been under criminal investigation. Why is that? It's a dumb question, isn't it? We know why. But that's why he's bringing it up now. After all these decades and all these years, all of a sudden, you should be able to trade stock, look the constituents in the eye. Now you're looking at them in the eyes, plural. But that's okay. Congress should be able to make money on the stock market while they're in the Congress. Let's see how quickly that passes Congress. Won't pass Congress at all. But he comes up with it at the very last minute. Now, why does he do that? He's doing a lot of last things at the last minute, and they're really all destructive. You know what he just did for California that's going to affect everybody in the country, that's going to affect the automobile industry? As the Daily Mail reports, furious, California gets green light to ban all gas cars in Democrat state. So California was given the go-ahead by the Environmental Protection Agency of the federal Biden regime government to ban all sales of gas-powered vehicles in 10 years. The EPA granted 2 requests from California to enforce strict standards for vehicle emissions. California's long-standing authority to request waivers from the EPA to protect its residents from dangerous air pollution coming from mobile sources like cars and trucks, said the EPA Administrator Michael Regan. He's a good soldier, does what he's told. The new waiver is important not only to California, but to more than a dozen other states that follow its nation-leading standards on vehicle emissions. Despite the environmental win in the state, the requests are expected to be immediately reversed when Trump takes the presidency. My God, we're always one election away from complete disaster, aren't we? Whew. Trump has said he will move to revoke all California waivers as part of an industry-friendly approach that includes boosting production of fossil fuels and repealing key parts of landmark 2022 climate law. Well, it's a real landmark, you know. He rescinded California's authority on emissions in 2019, only to be reversed 3 years later by Biden, by Meathead. That year, the blue state banned the sale of new gas-powered cars by 2035. Used gas-powered cars could still be driven and sold under the policy, like Cuba, where they have 1957 Chevys. Ford, Honda, Volkswagen, and other major automakers are meeting current California emission standards, but some major car companies question the latest EPA waiver. Achieving the sales mandates under current market realities will take a miracle. There needs to be a balance. Some states should exit the California program, Alliance for Automotive Innovation CEO John Bozzella said. Most of these states, Democrat states, have adopted California's rules, are not selling anywhere near 35% level EV sales required next year. Don't you like sales of certain cars are required? Does that sound like a free country to you? Does that sound like a free state to you? Scott Vazen, a spokesman for Toyota North America, worried the new rules will leave some consumers without the ability to purchase a vehicle that fits their mobility needs. Yeah, you're not kidding. I want nothing to do with electric vehicles. If you want to buy one, buy one. But I want distance. I want access to fuel quickly. I don't want to wait in lines. I don't want to be looking for charging stations. And I did a story for you 2 nights ago about how the electrical grid cannot handle this, according to a nonprofit organization that oversees electrical use and consumption and regulation. They said, we can't do it. It's not going to work. But there's Gavin Newsom, as dumb as a doorknob. There he is. And by the way, have you noticed his affectations when he talks? He thinks he's Bill Clinton. He's got these massive hands. He's got this pencil neck, this big bobblehead. Everybody says, oh, he looks the part of an actor. No, if you're looking at a science fiction movie, maybe he looks the part of an actor. But his hands are waving around and his arms like Bill Clinton used to. He's so adroit. He's so whatever. He's a schmuck. But the bottom line is, we're all going to have brownouts and blackouts. These blue states, they're filled with stupid representatives and bureaucrats. Let's see, what else here? EPA groups hailed the Biden administration's action. Of course they did. There's nobody dumber than these so-called environmental groups. They are a degrowth movement. They're destroying our prosperity, our growth. They are destroying our capitalist system. They're imposing these egghead ideas that are destructive, that are driving up your costs. Other than that, they're great. I'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number in the Power Hour, our third hour, 877-381-3811. 877-381-3811. I bet you haven't heard this lately. The Gatestone Institute. This is a great organization. It's an international policy council based in New York. It's a great organization. Our friend Mimi's over there. Does a tremendous job. Iran-affiliated Venezuelan gangs invited into the United States. Robert Williams. Border Patrol zones across Texas, Arizona, and California had no agent presence for weeks and months at a time. Those who did not want to be caught could simply walk in. We have no idea who and what entered our country over this time, said Aaron Hetke, retired chief patrol agent for the San Diego sector of the U.S. Border Patrol, testimony before the U.S. House Committee on Homeland Security. He said simultaneously, financial increase in special interest aliens. These are aliens with significant ties to terrorism. I was told I couldn't get any information on this increase in special interest aliens or mention any of the arrests. The administration was trying to convince the public that there was no threat at the border. Folks, more than 500,000 Venezuelans have entered the United States illegally since Biden took office in January 2021. According to the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, over 500,000. Until Biden became president, few Venezuelans arrived illegally. Only about 4,500 arrived in 2020, Trump's last year. Now 500,000. After Biden's inauguration, numbers exploded. 51,000 Venezuelans illegally entered in 2021. Another 190,000 in 2022. A whopping 335,000 in 2023. And I remind you again, in 2020, 4,500. For more than 2 decades, Venezuela has been a close ally of Iran and a regional home base for Hezbollah, Iran's proxy in the Middle East. Hezbollah, according to the 2020 Atlantic Council report, helped to turn Venezuela into a hub for the convergence of transnational organized crime and international terrorism. And that's what we're now seeing in our own country because of these damn fools. Iran's Quds Force is a subsection of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, I should say. Quds Force runs Iran's terrorist operations abroad. It established operations in Latin America with Venezuela's support during the Hugo Chavez regime, 1999 to 2013. Noted Jorge Serrano, a security expert and member of the team of advisors to Peru's Congressional Intelligence Commission. Iranian Quds Force has a local unit in Venezuela, Unit 840, which recruits and relies on local criminal groups to conduct assassinations and kidnappings. According to Alejandro Casiglia, an expert in terrorism and organized crime, professor at the University of Buenos Aires in Argentina, it's crucial to recognize that these groups are dedicated to the hybrid warfare, cyber intelligence, and terrorist attacks. The presence of Iran and the Quds Force in Latin America is not just a potential risk, but a palpable reality. These criminals have total freedom of movement in the region. They have Venezuelan passports and are usually of Lebanese or Persian origin. The enemy within. Invited by the enemy within. Biden and company. Now, one of these groups is the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, described as a mega gang or conglomerate of different criminal groups by Transparencia Venezuela, an NGO that notes the gang is the largest, most powerful organization in Venezuela with more than 4,000 criminals. It's been described as MS-13 on steroids, and they're now in 20 of our states. They weren't even here 5 years ago. They're now in 20 of our states. The state of Texas has designated Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. According to Serrano, the gang has Iran's support. They forged strategic alliances with Russia, China, and North Korea. Thank you, Joey. Corn Pop. In July, a federal memo said that Tren de Aragua, that gang, had been given the green light by its leaders to attack and open fire on cops in Denver, according to the New York Post. Of course, Denver is led by a mayor who's a complete unhinged radical jackass. The gang has a history of flooding other countries with military-age Venezuelan males to establish a base of operation to carry out violent crimes in those countries. Governor Greg Abbott of Texas pointed out. Now, the Biden administration, knowing this, nevertheless allowed the group to come into the United States, where they are now set up shop. They say in 16 states, I just read in 20 states, and have already been tied to hundreds of crimes, including the shooting of 2 New York Police Department officers in June. And now, of course, most recently, they tortured 2 people, including pulling out their fingernails 2 days ago in Aurora, Colorado. Now, how did the Biden administration do this? According to the Center for Immigration Reform, the major driver of the Venezuelan migration to the U.S. has been policies that allow illegal aliens to enter, be released, and work in the United States. Many Venezuelan nationals are taking advantage of the Biden administration's illegal categorical parole program, announced in late 2022. And under this program, Venezuelans and dual citizens of Venezuela can fly directly into the United States. You know, this is where they have apps given out by our government, the regime. They can fly directly into the United States without a visa, so they aren't vetted. Furthermore, the Biden administration has designated redesignated Venezuela for temporary protected status, TPS, which blocks the government from deporting Venezuelan nationals and offers them work permits. This has incentivized more Venezuelans to come to the U.S. because they anticipate similar treatment. It's indeed impossible to see the invasion at the border as anything other than planned by the Biden administration when Venezuela began to empty its prisons and criminals 2 years ago. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security, aware that criminals were heading to the U.S. border, gave the United States Border Patrol instructions to look for violent criminals from Venezuela entering the country. Now, if the Biden administration had wanted to stop the invasion, in the words of the House of Representatives Troy Niels, he said, for starters, he can use Section 212F of the Immigration Nationality Act. It says whenever the president finds that an entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the U.S. would be detrimental to the interests of the U.S., he may, by proclamation, and for such period as he deems necessary, suspend the entry of such aliens. Instead, Biden invites them. And it goes on. We have this problem with this Venezuelan international terrorist gang, their torture, their murder, their stealing, their rape, because Biden let them in. Because Biden let them in, and yet these senators are spending more time on trying to destroy Pete Hegseth than they are trying to save our country from Venezuelan gangs. A couple of years ago, I said, this is an impeachable offense. No, we're chasing the hunter. We got, 10%, blah, 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 public, their eyes are rolling over. I'm just being honest. I said, no, this is a high crime. This is an attack on our society. And ladies and gentlemen, even with deportations and all the rest, it's impossible to put the toothpaste back into the tube completely. I read today that the American Criminal Liberties Union, the ACLU, is giving legal advice and training to so-called nonprofit ethnic front organizations so they can bring an endless number, an infinite number of lawsuits in one community after another to try and prevent the Trump administration from deporting anybody. Again, the enemy within. This is what's meant by the enemy within. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
So we're importing terrorists, gang members, murderers, rapists, God knows what. Remember when John McCain used to say, we need people to pick our lettuce. Who's going to pick our lettuce? I think we're a little beyond that now. But in the same vein, this issue of birthright citizenship that I've been talking about for well over a decade, writing about it, it's become a big issue. It should be a big issue. This needs to be confronted. I don't know what the Supreme Court ultimately will do. They may duck it. They may make the wrong decision, but that's where it's going to wind up, and better now than later. Tom Holman's on the Constipated News Network with one of the most constipated-looking hosts, Caitlin Collins. There she is, and of course this issue comes up. Cut 10, go.
He believes that birthright citizenship must end. Obviously, that is no easy feat, given it is enshrined in the Constitution. But we'll
okay, one more time. Why are these people so stupid? Caitlin, why are you an ignoramus? Why are you a moron? It's enshrined in the Constitution. It's not enshrined in the Constitution. Did a whole monologue on this. I've done multiple shows on this, on radio and TV, Blaze. They lie about this all the time. First of all, they don't care about the Constitution. Secondly, they lie about what's in it. Go ahead.
In his orbit, direct immigration officials to stop giving out documents like passports or social security cards to babies who are born on U.S. soil, to parents who aren't documented?
Look, I think that's up to the courts. I think it needs to be held by the Supreme Court. I kind of disagree with you. I don't think it's enshrined in the Constitution at all, not the way I read it. But then again, I'm not a constitutional scholar. We'll let the courts decide that on the birthright citizenship. I'll say this. It's a major driver, a major magnet for illegal migration. And under this administration, you got a record number of illegal aliens that dying crossing the border. You got a record number of Americans dying from fentanyl coming across that border. You got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. So we got to stop these magnets. We got to stop rewarding illegal behavior, because that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, of course, it's the 14th Amendment, as you know.
It's the 14th Amendment. I am demanding a correction by Caitlin Collins and CNN. 14th Amendment and birthright citizenship. And what is it about it? What is it? It doesn't say there's birthright citizenship in America. 14th Amendment Citizenship Clause provides not just that all children born in America. That's not what it says. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof, and then it goes on, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, as we discussed, but I will do a 2 or 3 minute primer for morons like Caitlin Collins? The jurisdiction thereof. You don't get to create your own jurisdiction. What they meant by the jurisdiction thereof was not the geography of the United States. Somebody's born here, they're a citizen because of the geography of the United States. They meant the allegiance to, part of the society, part of the culture of the United States. Students who visit the United States and have a baby, their babies aren't American citizens. Tourists who come, their babies aren't American citizens if they have them here. Diplomats, same thing. So why does it apply to illegal aliens? It doesn't. The 14th Amendment wasn't passed. It had nothing. When it was passed, it had nothing to do with immigration and everything to do with slavery. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof was applying to freed black slaves, because there were some states in the Confederacy, the old Confederacy, that were not accepting the fact that they lost the war and that citizenship does in fact apply to now free black men and women. That's what that clause had to do with. It's one of the post-Civil War amendments, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Again, no reference to immigration. In the legislative language, no mention of immigration. In the 1866 Civil Rights Act, the first of its kind in American history, that is considered the basis for the 14th Amendment. It explained that it did not apply to people other than freed black slaves. It didn't even apply to Indians back then, Native Americans. Didn't apply to anybody else. They were talking about black people who had been here and had been enslaved. That's it. And for several decades afterwards, that's how the Supreme Court interpreted it. In fact, that's how every court interpreted it, till 1898 in another decision, which that court held wrongly, that the children of lawful immigrants were citizens. There's nothing in this Constitution, nothing in the 14th Amendment that says that children of illegal aliens are citizens by the nature of their birth here. Nothing. There's not a federal statute that says that. There's not a Supreme Court decision that says that. There's nothing. Period. So she just flips it. Well, we know the 14th Amendment. Snarky and stupid. It's a bad combination. Snarky and stupid. And yet that is essentially Caitlin Collins, and arrogant about it. Yeah, of course, it's the 14th Amendment, as you know. Mr. Producer, would you invite Caitlin Collins on the program? As pointless as that phone call or text or email will be, let's invite her on. Tell her I would like to discuss the language of the 14th Amendment with her, as you know. As she knows. So that's baloney. But it goes on. Cut 11, go.
So when you argued recently about, when you were asked about family separation, you said families can be deported together. That's how you would avoid that. I mean, you're saying that U.S. citizen, that U.S.-born child would have the choice to either go with their parents or to stay here in the United States without their parents.
So let's stop a minute. Again, here's a person who's supposed to be a journalist who basically believes that her job is to prosecute the left-wing agenda. That's her job. Now, you see how it's all mushed together? So a baby, a person who's born in the United States from these parents, who's now a U.S. citizen, they can be deported, the whole family, including the U.S. citizen? Well, they're not a U.S. citizen under the Constitution. They're a U.S. citizen under the way people have been interpreting it in the bureaucracy, and politicians have been interpreting it. But nonetheless, how many times do I have to point this out? When you send a parent off the prison, when you send a January 6er off the prison for daring to trespass on Capitol Hill grounds, no violence, nothing physical, and they have a child. Let's say that parent is an illegal immigrant. They have a child in the United States, and Collins says that's a citizen. Do you see her crying about that individual? Concerned about that individual? All right, let's forget about January 6th. Let's go through our local prisons, our state prisons, our county prisons, our federal prisons, filled with illegal migrants who've had children in the United States. What about them? We've just separated them from their children. We'll have Holman's answer when we return. I'll be right back.
Mark the 10, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
All right, I want to update you folks. There was a vote that just took place on this package that the Speaker put together with the approval of President Trump and others. And the House rejected it. The House rejected it as the Associated Press writes, the day before a potential government shutdown, the House resoundingly rejected, as they write it, President-elect Donald Trump's new plan Thursday to fund operations to suspend the debt ceiling, as Democrats and dozens of Republicans refused to accommodate his demand. In a hastily convened evening vote, punctuated by angry outbursts over the self-made crisis, the lawmakers failed to reach the two-thirds threshold needed for passage. But House Speaker Mike Johnson appeared determined to reassess before Friday's midnight deadline. Folks, if the government shuts down, the government doesn't shut down. The government never shuts down. About 70% of it shuts down. Now, Biden will try to make it as painful as possible, as Obama did. But we will survive. We will do just fine. The pension checks will go out. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid will continue. Veterans benefits will continue. The U.S. military will continue, and so forth and so on. You see, the taxes keep coming in. The revenue keeps coming in. Close to $400 billion a month. A month. It's not that they don't have enough money. It's that they want more. And so they'll try and make it as painful as possible. The media will make it as painful as possible. This is the way it's worked for a quarter of a century. This is what they do. Actually, for half a century. For half a century. So, the vote was 235 against, 174 for. That's a big spread. Then they write, the outcome proved a massive setback for Trump and his billionaire ally Elon Musk, who rampaged, just listen to the language, against Johnson's bipartisan compromise, which Republicans and Democrats had reached earlier to prevent a Christmas-time government shutdown. Now, if you're writing for Proctor Al Jazeera, this guy's great. Who is it? Let's see here. The Associated Press. Of course, it's not signed. Oh, yes, it is. Lisa Mascaro and Kevin Freaking. Yeah, you're not kidding. Good propagandists. He said, did Johnson, we're going to regroup and we will come up with another solution, so stay tuned. Did you tell me Mike Lee's out there saying that Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk should be the new speaker, Mr. Producer? Do these fools in the Senate understand that you have to have enough Republicans, among others, in the House to install a speaker? So because Mike Lee and Rand Paul make a declaration about who should be speaker? I mean, what is this, just to beat your own chest? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They got a lot to do in the Senate there, too. Why don't they pay attention to their own jobs? It would be nice. It wouldn't matter who the speaker is. I don't know how many more times we have to go through this crap. I really don't. People who self-proclaim to be smart aren't so smart. Who's going to be speaker? Who is it? Who's going to pull this together? I mean, come on, this is so stupid. We go over this over and over and over again. And these senators who are so good and so tough, they come in, I want Elon Musk. I want Vivek Ramaswamy. Good for you. Sit down and shut up. Here we had a bill supported strongly by the speaker, by the president, by the vice president, that's JD and Trump, and Elon Musk, and it failed. Now you got to figure out how you're going to get a bill that's going to pass, that's going to do what we wanted to do. I have an idea. Let's replace the speaker. Stupid. All you do is chew up each other. You chew up each other. You get nowhere. And you know what? We're going to go after Chip Roy. No, we're not. I'm not. Either we unite, we get strong, we embrace our principles, we go to the public, we make our case, and we go up the hill, we fight up the hill time and time and time again. We don't shoot each other in the back. What the hell is this? Over at the Senate, you got senators telling us who the speaker should be when they couldn't even get their man Ron Johnson. But don't worry, we know what the House should do. It's just cheap politics. It's pointless. Pointless. Now, we have a problem on our hands. How do we get a good bill passed? Well, I'm going to tell you a little secret. Uh-oh. You ready for this, Mr. Producer? Let the government shut down. For a few days, a week, a few weeks, let it shut down. That's how you get the kind of momentum you need to get to the kind of deal that we need. An 80% deal. It's okay. We'll survive. It's shut down 20 times since 1974. It's okay. Shut down 6 times under Reagan. He won by 2 landslides. It's okay. Donald Trump has made the point. It's okay, too. He said, shut it down. We can't allow the left and the Democrats to push the agenda. It's not a matter of who the speaker is. It's a numbers issue. If you're a conservative, if you're a constitutionalist, then you're with me. If you're a big mouth, if you like to be center ring and draw attention to yourself and just spit out stupid stuff, then you're with them. It's that simple. Now, you really want to fix things? You get behind Convention of States. I don't think Rand Paul's behind Convention of States. I don't think Mike Lee's behind Convention of States. Maybe I'm 5 years behind the curve. Maybe they are now, but they weren't. You ever hear them talk about it? See, I'm not one of those that thinks Washington can fix Washington. I think we can make Washington do things it needs to do, but it's not going to fix the situation. I think we, the people, through our legislatures, as the framers intended, we have to take control of what the hell's going on. We've got to put in place barriers, bumpers, governors to control Congress, to control the executive branch, Convention of States. Andy Biggs opposes it, but he's a good Freedom Caucus guy. I haven't heard Mike Lee talk about it. I think he was opposed to it, unless he's changed his position. Rand Paul's out there in Never Never Land. I don't know what the hell he thinks. But they're not getting us anywhere, are they? Are they? And even if we win on this continuing resolution, you understand, folks, that this is a pittance compared to what goes on with the entitlements? So what are their position on the entitlements? What do they want to, what's Rand Paul want to do about it? Or Mike? Or Biggs? What do they want to do? Where's their proposal? I'd like to read them. I'd like to talk about them. Social Security's gone broke. Medicare's gone broke. Those programs, plus Medicaid, plus the Children's Health Program and Obamacare, they take up all these so-called entitlements, 77% of the budget. 77%. So a continuing resolution, it's peanuts compared to everything else. It's a good start, don't get me wrong. But what do they want to do about that? Absolutely nothing. Okay. We're going to spend another 3 weeks on the speaker issue? Isn't that stupid? And Trump praised the speaker. I mean, Johnson saw the writing on the wall. He immediately moved to put together Plan B. He met with J.D. Vance. He spoke to some of the others. Ramaswamy, they put together their plan, which is really the Trump plan for the most part. And you had a whole bunch of Republicans that voted against it. Now, I reject that. I think we need to know who they are. Even if they're friends of mine, even if I don't agree that we should primary them, maybe we should primary some of them. I don't know. But we needed this win. We needed it. And we didn't get it. And we didn't get it. This is why I'm not loved up there on Capitol. I'm not loved because I call it as I see it. I see the showboats that'll get us nowhere. They like to throw stink bombs every now and then, but they're not going to actually do anything. Or they talk about the other body, like they have some control over the other body. They have no control over the other body, but it gets a headline or, 5,000 hits on the internet. That's pretty cool. But it gets us nowhere. Zero. It's very frustrating to me to watch this. As a old Reaganite, as a constitutional conservative, as somebody who's written book after book after book on what I think we need to do, these guys on the Hill, they don't want to do what we need to do. It's been laid out. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. Tell me, who is the last conservative House or Senate member who's proposed a constitutional amendment that takes a Milton Friedman idea, a brilliant idea that limits the growth of government to the growth of the percentage of the GDP? Tell me, who's introduced that? To my knowledge, nobody. Nobody. Tell me, who's introduced a bill that reforms Social Security in particular, grandfathers in anybody 55 and older, so that's not an issue. They've been made promises, but everybody under that age, to reform the program so it survives. Who's introduced that bill? To my knowledge, nobody. Nobody. Why? It's easier to call for the head of the speaker. It's easy to call for 1,000 other things. It's political dynamite. That's why. And yet these are the things that need to be done. Now. These are the things that need to be done. And I go on down the list. If you pull out my book, and you don't have to, just as a thought, Plunder and Deceit, it lays out all the issues. And then if you pull out a book that I wrote a bit later, the Liberty Amendments, then we get them, well, I don't know about a convention of the states. Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, what do you know? You know nothing. Congress is not going to reform itself. Hello! It is not going to do it. Now, we can work on the fringes. We can work on the CRs. I got it. I'm all in favor of it. But if you actually want to save the republic, you're going to have to do a little bit more. And I don't care if you replace the speaker 1,000 times. You're still going to have to do a little bit more. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
The Democrats voted, I think, to a man, a woman, and a transitioning individual against this, a clean continuing resolution. They wanted all the stuff in it. And now people know what the Republican speakers have to deal with. They have to deal with these diabolical saboteurs. That's what they have to deal with. J.D. Vance says the Democrats just voted to shut down the government even though we had a clean CR because they didn't want to give the president negotiating leverage during his first term or during the first year of his new term. Exactly. Exactly. That's what they are. They're no damn good. I promised you, even though we're out of time, I go back to Tom Holman. Here's cut 11. Go.
So when you argued recently about, when you were asked about family separation, you said families can be deported together. That's how you would avoid
She's so
that.
Monotonous.
I mean,
pathetic.
you're saying that U.S. citizen, that U.S. born child would have the choice to either go with their parents or to stay here in the United States without their parents.
That's a decision of the parents. And again, we can't send a message to the whole world that you can circumvent our laws by simply having your citizen child when you know you're here illegally. They made that decision. They put their families in that position, not us. We're going to enforce the laws enacted by Congress and signed by a president. If people don't like the laws, they can certainly have the laws changed by Congress. What we're going to do what the American people want us to do, enforce the laws enacted by Congress.
All right, that's an excellent answer. But my response would also be, how come you never talk about the well-being of the American citizen who didn't violate the law? The adult American citizen who didn't violate the law. How come you never talk about them? And what is CNN's policy for securing the border? What is CNN's policy for removing people who shouldn't be here? Should they not be removed? What is CNN's policy for removing criminals and terrorists? Does CNN know where 325,000 unaccompanied minors are? Does CNN know where all these women are who've been sold into sex slavery and pornography? All these women who've been raped? Does CNN keep numbers? Does CNN even have people on the border taking pictures of this stuff? No. They're sleazeballs. Ladies and gentlemen, we salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers. We're with the people in Ukraine, the people in Israel, and of course you, the American people. We're going to keep an eye on this Congress. We're not going to just roll over and play dead and play games. We're going to keep an eye on it. I'll see you tomorrow.